Titanic! Oh, sorry, that was a terrible icebreaker. Welcome back to another episode of r/Am I the A-hole? It's your host, Markee. I hope you have a good day, night sleep. Whatever you're doing right now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Posted by user SureFolds. Titled, Am I the A-hole? I told my mum to stop talking about my nephew because I'm tired of Golden Boy. Note, everything has been anonymized, but the core story is still the same, of course. So I have a nephew named Jack. No point in trying to hide this fact, I'm jealous of him. I'm so jealous, my blood probably runs green. The fact isn't super relevant to the post, I just wanted to acknowledge it up front. 4 years ago, Jack's life started coming together. Of course, he worked hard too, like taking overtime whenever it was available, networking, etc. And he got a nice tech hardware job. Since then, Golden Boy Jack has lived under a lucky star. He never shuts up about it. You will always hear about how great he's doing, how much money he's making, the expensive house he's going to buy, etc. If it wasn't for the bragging and the family always talking about him, I would be able to shrug and move on. Jack and I are different people who are at different life stages. He hasn't had to deal with severe mental health issues to clear his way. He won't let you forget how awesome he is. Oh, he cured his anxiety with weed. Of course, if there's something he doesn't want to do, oops, anxiety gotta leave. He chased off a carjacker with a frying pan. He has a pretty girlfriend, he's going to buy an expensive house. He's making $10,000 a month, and after the pandemic, it'll be a paltry $8,000. He outsmarts everyone in arguments. On and on and on, and on about his every cool action and accomplishment. The family eats it up. Pretty sure his parents have a shrine to him somewhere in their basement. My mum and grandma adore him. I used to as well, until Jack turned into a braggart. My accomplishments? If Jack is around, he starts talking about himself. It must be an automatic response by now. Otherwise, everybody shrugs off what I say. I've gone so far and worked so hard, but because I don't have the big paycheck, the cute girlfriend, the expensive house, and the big mouth to go with it, I'm a nobody. The Jack is God thing has been going on for about 4 years now. It comes up anytime family is discussed, and of course when he or his parents come around, it's Jack time. You should listen to Jack time when Jack himself is hosting it. I am at my absolute limit. This afternoon, Mum and I were sitting in my office and she started talking about how Jack is making $10,000 a month. I told her, that's great, and I was tired of hearing about how great Jack's life is going. I told Mum that I didn't want to hear about the Golden Boy, that listening to someone be lauded day after day while you've been scrabbling for success for years gets tiring. My mum called me a jealous a-hole, told my grandma, and now my grandma thinks that I'm an a-hole as well. I don't think I am. I've held my tongue for 4 years. Let him enjoy his luck and success, but stop making me listen to it so much. Can't he send a postcard or something like normal people? I can't see how this is an everyone sucks here situation. Reddit seems to think it's an everyone sucks here, but I don't. I would get sick and tired of hearing it after 4 years. I agree with OP here. Let him enjoy his success and his luck, but stop mentioning it all the time? I mean, is it really interesting 4 years after the fact that it started? I don't really know what the end game of the parents is in this situation, but it can't feel good to have it, month after month put in your face. I'm gonna go with not the a-hole here because I feel like he's just been pushed too much by them, but that's my limited understanding of the situation. And OP says, edit to add, I just want to thank everyone for their responses so far. More than a handful of them have helped me remove my blinders to get a better perspective of the situation. The Am I the A-hole sub can be a great place if you need the proverbial face slap. Everyone sucks here. This certainly sounds like a boring topic of conversation, and it's okay to politely ask to change the subject. But your jealousy is your own to handle. Them talking about it less isn't going to make you feel any better. Work on your insecurity, and suddenly this will all seem funny. At least, it's pretty obvious to me that this guy is actually living a pretty miserable life. Yeah, My therapist has told me the same about the jealousy thing. I just wish my own mother of all people could at least be a little sensitive to it. But she isn't interested in changing, so I'll have to be the one to change. You think Jack is living a miserable life? No sarcasm intended. I'm actually curious and would love to hear you elaborate if you have the time and interest. He has paid off all his bills and is well on his way to clearing a 120k debt. He paid off his car, he's in a position to get a super nice house. He has a job that he loves. I guess the narrator here is unreliable since it's Jack himself. Nobody who feels the need to proclaim their successes that loudly and frequently is actually living a good life. Even if all of those things are true, he has a deep hole inside him that he thinks can be filled with more stuff and more money, and he is wrong. I know it sounds cheesy, but it's the truth. If you want to use someone for a life inspiration type of jealousy, look for people who are leading good lives but don't need to yap about it all the time, who are surrounded by the people that they love, and who are kind to others. Those are the actually happy people. This is a good perspective. Kind of an eye-opener too. Thanks for your response. Time to go look for the actually happy people and learn to focus much less on the fake happy people. I am at my absolute limit. Then just say, "Will you excuse me? I just remembered something." Then you get up and leave. What you remembered is that you have feet and are under no obligation to be near people or listen to those who make you feel bad. You are not the a-hole for being jealous of your feelings. They are yours alone. The other thing you could do is pretend you're exploring an alien culture and take notes of these strange people, their rituals, and their love of their deity named Jack. This idea is a good one. It sounds like a good coping mechanism without being antagonistic. I have lots of notes to take on my alien family too, winky face. Thanks for your response. Posted by user, Brother, Am I the A-hole Throwaway? Titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my sister that the world doesn't revolve around her? All names are pseudonyms for obvious reasons. My sister Julie, 28 female, and I, 36 male, grew up in a working-class family. Our parents ran a small hardware store growing up, and when they passed away 8 years ago, Julie and I ran it together for a few years. Along the way, I started dating a woman, Annie, who is now my wife. Annie came from a much more white-collar family, and we got engaged. Her dad wanted me to have a stabler job so that she wouldn't have to be the only breadwinner in the family, and he got me connected with some of his colleagues. After a couple of interviews, I got a job offer that paid almost 3 times as much as I was making at the hardware store. Julie agreed that I should take the job since her boyfriend, Stan, was planning to start helping her with the store anyway. A few months later, Julie became pregnant with a baby girl, and she was ecstatic. Stan claimed he was as well, but I was suspicious of his supposed enthusiasm as he began acting more stressed as Julie got closer to giving birth. Sure enough, when she did give birth last year, Stan didn't even stick around for 2 days until he ran out on her. Annie and I helped out as much as we could, and after a while, Julie started getting back on her feet. Unfortunately, a couple months into the pandemic, the store went bankrupt, leaving Julie unemployed. She started working 3 part-time jobs to provide for her and the baby. She asked me to borrow money 3 times in the past 6 months, and while financially I can more than afford it, I'm worried that she's becoming a mooch and just using me for money. The main conflict happened last month. We were on the phone, and I mentioned that work's been super stressful for me, and she laughed really condescendingly and said, "Yeah, talk to me when you're not the guy making 6 figures from one job with no family to provide for." I felt hurt and invalidated, so I told her that 1, it's not my fault that she decided to have kids and has to spend extra on them, and 2, her problems aren't the only ones that matter, and the world doesn't revolve around her. Long story short, there was a lot of yelling, and she wound up calling me an a-hole and hanging up on me. 2 weeks later, she asked me again to borrow money, saying she thinks her daughter's sick and can't afford to take her to the doctor. I frankly feel like that was a load of BS, and when I said no, she started guilt-tripping me and said that I'm hurting a baby if I don't lend her money. I still refused, and once again, she hung up on me. Later, I told Annie what had happened, and to my surprise, she started yelling at me and saying that I was being cruel. Annie called Julie later and lent her the money from our joint account without asking me first. Neither of them has spoken to me for days, but frankly, I feel like Julie is just manipulating Annie's kindness to get money out of us. Edit: for those asking about child support, she has no idea where he is and has nowhere to contact to track him down. This seems like you're an a-hole in this situation, unfortunately it does. Just based off of your wife's reaction to this one, I think that's all you really need to go off of. If your wife is unconvinced about your reasoning for this and your actions, then you guys need to come together and figure out a solution to this one, because you're clearly doing the wrong thing if it's hurting your dynamic that badly. I don't think you're obliged to help out, you don't have to legally help out, you don't have to do anything, but I think it's the kind thing to do if you can support a friend that is struggling and then get paid back later in the future. I think you would be saved from the a-hole judgment if you were to help them, but currently you're an a-hole for not helping and then starting things with your wife. It's really not helping anything. So yeah, you're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. I mean, you don't owe anyone money, and you should never lend more than you can afford to lose, but your sister doesn't have a well-connected spouse to get her into a lucrative career that could offer her more stability. And I'm confused as to why you assumed she's lying about her baby's illness. You felt put down by her comment, but she's right. Your job may be stressful, but I bet it's not as stressful as being a single parent after your spouse has abandoned you and having no means to make enough money to support yourselves during a global pandemic. Why aren't you telling her that you'll help any way that you can? Why aren't you getting your father-in-law to reach out to his white-collar connections? Hold up. Yes, her situation is more stressful, but that doesn't mean that every time OP tells his sister about his own work, she gets to invalidate his stress and feelings by saying that she has it worse so he shouldn't complain. Being stressed isn't a competition. If one of my friends would play the "I have it worse" card every time I tell him some of my worries and problems, we wouldn't be friends for very long. That crap gets old real fast. Are you venting your problems to people who are far worse off than you? Arguably struggling to survive, and then withholding support when they were sarcastic or didn't support you in the way that you wanted? It's not a competition, but I think it's clear in this situation that it's not the time to expect sympathy or ask for emotional support from your sibling when they are barely treading water. One sarcastic reply doesn't invalidate his experience, and withholding financial support because your feelings are hurt is definitely not an appropriate response. And OP has a little bit of an update here. It really pains me to tell you all this, but I found out 5 minutes ago that her baby has whooping cough. I really feel like I understand my mistakes now, and although I can't make up for them, I genuinely feel awful and I'm going to do everything I can to atone. Thank you for everyone who called me the a-hole. I genuinely needed that reality check. She needs sleep. She will be up all night now watching her baby because sleeping babies with whooping cough can stop breathing. So please offer to watch the baby for 6 hours in the afternoon every other day and on weekends so that Julie can sleep. And OP says, a couple of hours ago we decided it would be better if she just came to stay with us indefinitely so we can help take care of the baby and so that she won't have to stress about rent and food and babysitters. Annie and I convinced her to take time off from her jobs and that we would cover her and the baby financially, and Annie is going to talk to her dad about job openings that pay better. I'm so glad that you posted here. Me too. Posted by user BikeFight55, titled, Am I the a-hole for letting my daughter take my son's bike with her when she moved out? My daughter is 23. Moving out on her own after college and found a nice apartment nearby. Over the past 2 years-ish, she's taken up biking and has done it every day, in trails and paths around our town. She's really good and bikes 20 miles every day. She uses my older son's bike. He's 27, still at home with us. We bought it for him about 5 years ago when he expressed interest in getting into biking, but he hasn't used it. I mean, has literally never once used it. I watched my daughter peel off the protective sticker over the seat and the plastic off the handlebars. When we were packing her things, I told her it was okay to take the bike as she's the only one who has ever used it, and I packed it up for her, and it's now at her apartment. My son found out when he was out in the garage looking for a tool that the bike was gone, and he threw a fit about it. He says it doesn't matter that he's never used it, or that his mum and I bought it for him anyway. It belonged to him and he wanted it back. My daughter is a people pleaser and offered to give it back, but I put my foot down and told them it was ridiculous. She could keep the bike, and if my son really wanted one and would use it, we would buy him another one for Christmas. He doesn't actually want the bike or a new one, it's just the principle of it. My wife thinks we should just buy my daughter one and let my son keep his, but why go through it if he's never going to use it anyway? I think he's being a brat, but everyone else seems to think I'm being an a-hole. What do you think? Logically, it's an everyone sucks here situation, but me personally, I'm on the side of the father. I think he's making good logical arguments, and even if that screws over the son didn't touch the bike in 5 years. We could have just said it got stolen and he wouldn't have cared less in that situation, but the fact that she's using the bike actively and the principle, quote-unquote, of the situation, oh, God, the world is just ending, isn't it? She can't enjoy nice things if it's technically at your expense, son? Oh, no, that's just terrible. I'm about what the father is saying in this situation, what OP is saying, and I back his reasoning, so I'm going to go with not the a-hole. Everyone sucks here. Give the bike back and raise his rent. The son is a grown-ass adult that got something but never ever used it in its 44,760 hours existence. First of all, he should be more independent and not act like a terrible, mean, grumpy 4-year-old. My 3-year-old sister knows how to share things and doesn't feel entitled about everything. My family and I share things and never feel that something is mine and only I can use it. That's a terrible mindset. It's just a bike, and it would be nice of him to share it. Why haven't you raised your son to not be an entitled, petulant child? Anyways, as he didn't raise any objections to her using it for years, I would go with not the a-hole, although it's technically his property. Trust me, we have tried. He has BPD. It's been a struggle for him to treat people with kindness and respect his entire life. His world is very small, and the universe revolves around him. Well, I guess it makes even more sense then. I wouldn't feel bad about it. I remember my dad gave away my tricycle to a neighbor when I was 6. I was a bit upset, but miraculously, it hasn't damaged me for life, so I'm sure he'll get past it too. Posted by user Raina Rona, titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my brother-in-law he's not a real doctor and refusing to use the title? Not trying to offend anybody here. I, 28 female, have a sister who is married to Joey, 30s male. We are not close for unrelated reasons, but I recently saw them at a dinner party for the first time in a year. For the record, the event was for my dad's retirement and was 100% pandemic safe. Joey has recently finished his osteotherapy degree, and he was going around bragging that we now had to call him Dr. Smith. Smith is just a placeholder name. He and my sister have always been into sketchy and pseudoscientific health things, for example, chiropractics and essential oils. I judge the hell out of that kind of thing, but I keep my opinions to myself unless asked. Joey plans to open his own practice in our hometown and employ my sister as a receptionist and office manager. When he approached me, I congratulated him on his graduation and made some small talk about his school and how it's close to a popular hiking trail. I thought we had a nice chat, but my sister came up and interrupted. I said something like, "Oh, I was just telling Joey about this great trail." Joey gave me a dirty look and was like, "Don't you mean Dr. Smith?" I kind of laughed it off, but he wouldn't let it go. He kept making little comments for the rest of the night about me, and how I'm probably jealous. Now what's relevant is, I dropped out of a PhD program a while back because I got a fantastic private sector job offer. It was the right choice for me, and I'm not jealous. I had had enough, and I told him that osteopathy was a pseudoscience, and I would never put it on the same level as medicine. I shared that in my opinion, alternative health can really hurt people and take advantage of folks during the worst times of their lives. There wasn't much conversation after that, so I retreated to the kitchen to help my mother prep dessert. Joey avoided me after that. Am I the a-hole? My family is divided. My brother thinks I was right to explain my view, but my sister is ticked, according to my mum. I guess saying it to his face that he's not a real doctor may be an a-hole-ish move to do. Okie dokie. I'm gonna be on the fence on this one and say everyone sucks here. I don't like Joey trying to force the doctor title there when I don't feel like it's completely necessary. You don't have to call him doctor if you don't want to. You know him as Joey. I feel like that's a bit of a dick move for him to be trying to force that on you. Edits. Thanks to everyone who responded. Even the people who called me an a-hole. A few things to address. Yes, we are in the US. No, I won't tell you what school my brother-in-law went to, even though I strongly disagree with the pseudoscientific aspects of his education. I now see that he is a doctor, even if he's not an MD. I feel so strongly about pseudoscience and alternative medicine because it killed a dear family friend of mine. She developed diabetes and tried to treat it with woo instead of medical advice. She died almost 4 years ago, but I miss her every day. And about my PhD program. I started the degree because I wanted a job at X research facility, and having a PhD would increase my chances. I am being purposely vague here. About 2 years into my program, I managed to land a job there with just my master's degree in biostatistics and CS. I enjoyed my program and will probably go back someday. But the job was too good to pass up. I am not jealous of brother-in-law. The unrelated reason why my sister and I are estranged. She has a pattern of behaving recklessly and destroying my things. In high school, I worked and saved up for an old beater car. She took it without my permission and totaled it, then manipulated my parents so she wouldn't have to pay. In college, she dropped my laptop into a pool for no clear reason. The final strike was when she took a bath in my first house, left the water running and fell asleep, leading to massive water damage. You're the a-hole for just denying the fact that he's a doctor. Per your replies, he has a degree of Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine, which means he went to medical school. DO is equivalent to MD, and you seem to be ignorant to that fact and have called it pseudoscience. He's the a-hole for demanding family members call him doctor in an informal conversation, but perhaps he was just excited or making a joke. Anyone insisting on being called by their title in a non-professional setting is automatically an a-hole, so this should be at least everyone sucks here. While I agree like 99% of the time, it's brand new and he's incredibly excited. I personally would internally roll my eyes but do it anyway. A few months from now? Nah, he's being a douche. It is brand new though. It doesn't hurt anyone to play along with his excitement while he's riding the high of his accomplishments. My friend is in med school right now, and I guarantee when she graduates, I'll be calling her Dr. Friend and making jokes about when it's new. He's just finished probably the 4 hardest years of his life, and his wife is probably just super proud. I think it's okay for the first month or so to be so proud that you're a little annoying. Everyone sucks here. Osteopaths have medical training and the right to practice as a medical doctor. You don't have to think he's a good doctor, but he's a doctor and you're an a-hole. He sucks for not letting it go, but not if you're leaving out that you've been just as snide as he is. Yeah, a doctor of osteopathy is a fully licensed physician and has gone through the appropriate screening and examination required to practice medicine. A DO is a physician in the same way as an MD is, and they enjoy the same privileges like prescribing medication. That being said, you don't have to call anyone doctor in a personal setting if you don't want to. Okay, and I think that's where we're going to end today's episode, guys. As always, I do hope you enjoyed it, and maybe even learned something from these stories. Just want to say a quick shout out to my Patreon subscribers and my channel members. You guys should be on the screen right now. If you do see yourself, I want you to give yourself a little pat on the back for being amazing and supporting me on this channel, this little journey we're going on the YouTubes. I really appreciate it, and you guys enabled me to do all this amazing work. So if you do see yourself, I love your face and I'm happy to see you. Also guys, if you want to pitch in your own support, you don't have to, but channel links are down in the description below to support the Patreon, the channel membership, whatever you want to do. It's kind of like tipping me if you feel like I'm doing a good job on this channel. I will be opening up avenues for content on those in the future. Just right now I'm kind of bogged down and stuck in Ireland, but you know, it is what it is. Anyway, guys, with that said, I do hope you have a wonderful day today. Whatever you're up to, I'd love to know down in the comments below. I do hope you have a good day, night, sleep. Whatever you're up to today, tell me, and I'll see you in the next episode, guys. Bye.